there, I'm Cindy Davis. With me today is Justin O'Connor, Product Management Director of Performance Systems at Bose Professional. We're here to discuss the EdgeMax in-ceiling speaker system that breaks the mold for what people think of in-ceiling speakers. Welcome, Justin.
Thanks, Cindy. I'm really excited to be here today and to get the chance to talk to you about EdgeMax.
Absolutely. So EdgeMax introduces new capabilities and with new levels of performance in the market category that really hasn't evolved much in decades. So what is it about EdgeMax that raises the bar for the entire category?
Well, I think you said it. The ceiling speaker category has not evolved much in decades, and EdgeMax is an evolution in ceiling speakers. It just simply is. For years, ceiling speakers are just pointing straight down, giving you conical coverage, and that's been a decent solution for ways to get audio in a room while hiding the speakers, which is definitely a requirement in some rooms. But these cones shooting down from the top of the room have specific limitations, and EdgeMax was an attempt to say, well, how can we still hide the speaker, get most of it away in the ceiling or all of it away in the ceiling, but overcome some of the acoustic drawbacks that are inherent to a speaker pointing straight down. And so what EdgeMax does is it shoots horizontally and down from the ceiling, which is really, it's an innovation, it's an evolution, it's something that nobody else is quite doing. And so you get more acoustic factors that are closer to a surface mount speaker, but you're still hiding the loudspeaker away. And I remember when I started at Bose Professional, EdgeMax was on the drawing board, not just out yet. And having had a history myself with ceiling speakers, I was really surprised. I mean, this was the first time I'd seen anything in my career that didn't just iterate on a ceiling speaker, but really took it to a whole new level.
Yeah, interesting. And because generally speaking, in-ceiling speakers really aren't known for performance. So what would you say have been some of the limitations?
Yeah, so I mean, some of them have very good performance, whether you're measuring performance on quality or output, but there are acoustic limitations to the form factor and to the positioning. So most have a cone-shaped response, and the developers, and we have ceiling speakers too. There's nothing necessarily wrong with this, and a good, consistent cone response is great. And as a system designer, folks can plot circles of coverage at the listening height and get their speakers as close together, but that's not an ideal solution because you have pieces that are overlapping. They have to overlap some so that you don't have gaps, and that overlap can create disturbances. Comb filtering is one of the main ones, and it can leave spaces that are still untouched by that cone. So even if you have a room that's large enough to say have 4 pairs of ceiling speakers, so 8 total speakers, you're still going to have gaps and you're still going to have overlap in that room, no matter how good the speaker is, no matter how well controlled it is. And that's just for listening height. Remember, again, these are cones. So if someone stands up, they're getting less coverage almost no matter what. So you have to tune it specifically for a listening height, but then that's where your response is only one thing. And so limitations like this are the trade-off you get for being able to hide the speaker away, which is often a requirement. We do know this in the professional AV industry. People don't always want to see big, bulky, or even small, bulky loudspeakers. They want them to disappear. And so ceiling speakers do offer that aesthetic solution. But again, it comes with these acoustic challenges that you never quite exactly get to cover an area just with a nice homogeneous coverage.
So we're going to show some images here too, because I have to say, without the grill, they were really pretty nice looking speakers. I wouldn't cover them up, but I understand. So tell us about the engineering behind the performance. Let's get a little bit technical here.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the key to it all is our patented phase guide. This is an innovative, again, evolutionary piece of equipment. And what it does is we actually so imagine we're at the ceiling, we've got it installed and it's, the back box is going up. The compression driver inside is actually pointing horizontally. So if this is the direction we wanted to cover, it's pointed horizontally and it meets this phase guide. And what that phase guide does is it sends some energy directly down, but then it spreads the rest of the energy out. I think it's 75 degrees out for our original EdgeMax. And what's amazing about that is it is doing multiple things at once, this phase guide. It is, first of all, it's shaping that coverage, but it's also balancing the response so that not all the energy is going straight down out of the loudspeaker at the bottom, so that there's an even response all the way through to the edge of that EdgeMax, so that when it goes all the way out to the furthest coverage point, you're getting the same acoustic energy you would get pretty much right under the speaker. So that's the main focus. This this phase guide also has a very wide horizontal coverage. So we have a 90 and a 180. And the reason we did that is, and this is really where EdgeMax gets its name, is it is designed to be pushed to the edge of the room. That gives a ton of advantages. One is it's a ceiling speaker still, so it's disappeared, but we know that the center of the room, especially meeting rooms, there's a lot of competition. There could be a projector up there. There are sprinklers everywhere. There's lighting. Sometimes aesthetically pleasing architectural features are built into a ceiling. And usually the edge is the only free place. And so by putting our EdgeMax at the edge of the room, close to a wall, it can then project through the room like a surface mount speaker would do, but still being hidden away up in the ceiling. And also it keeps sound off the back wall. If you put a regular ceiling speaker up close to a wall like that, about half of the sound is going to hit the wall and bounce off. But the way EdgeMax works, it tailors that edge slightly off the wall, and then it has that projecting piece coming out. And that solves a lot of coverage problems. It also gives what we would call location. So if you imagine a meeting room with ceiling speakers and you have a presenter, a multimedia presentation up front, you're hearing that person from above you, but they're across the room from you. Whether or not you notice that always, that's not natural. But with EdgeMax, one EdgeMax could probably cover the room I just described that has 8 ceiling speakers. That one EdgeMax you can put up in the front of the room, and so the sound is coming from where the presentation is coming from, just like it would with a surface mount speaker. But again, you don't see the speaker, and you have all the advantages of ceiling mounted loudspeakers.
So I was going to ask that when you mentioned you could put that one at the front of the room. Generally speaking, how many can you use more than one EdgeMax? Or what? How many do you usually use? I assume it depends on the size of the room.
Yeah, of course, everything depends on the size of the room. So a lot of medium and small rooms, one EdgeMax is more than enough, especially if you're putting it in the front of the room and you have the 180-degree coverage, you're going to cover a lot of a fairly medium-sized room. But there's no reason you can't add more EdgeMaxes. So in both our regular can size and our low profile, which we just introduced recently, both come in either a 90-degree pattern or a 180-degree pattern, referring to the horizontal. So the 180 is designed to be in the middle of a wall, right? So if you think of putting it right in the middle of the wall in the ceiling, then you have 180 this way, and then you get that coverage going into the room forward. Or you could put 2 90s in the corners. So then you have 90s coming this way to cover the room. But you could also do a combination. So if you say you put 90s in the front, but it's a very long room, you could put 180s halfway down or 3/4 of the way down to cover the back edge of the room. So there's nothing limiting the ability to mix and match the 90s and the 180s, or our regular sized can and the low profile can version. They can easily be added to get all that coverage. There's really no limitation on how many you could put if the room is big enough.
So this actually brings me to my next question. What kind of opportunities does this really open up for designers, consultants, when they're taking on a new project? How should they think about EdgeMax as being integrated?
At first, they should think about it the way they would think more about a surface mount loudspeaker, but a surface mount loudspeaker with potentially up to 180 degrees of coverage. And that is a first kind of entry point to how to think about this loudspeaker. Because regardless of the fact that it's in the ceiling, you're going to plan that room more like you would a direct radiating surface mount speaker. But it's even better than that because it still covers straight down, which a surface mount speaker wouldn't be able to do. So even if you have a room that's kind of short, so your front audience is really close to the front of the room, you're not worried about shooting over their head because we have coverage that comes kind of straight down the wall as well. So that's kind of the entry starting point. But then get creative. Integrators, consultants, think about ways that having sound hidden in the ceiling but projecting horizontally can change how we think about rooms. And I go back to, a boardroom or a meeting room where you're going to have multimedia presentations. For decades, we have accepted that sound coming from the top of our heads, and getting that location, getting people's focus to the front of the room where the presenter is. The audio is not going to help with that when it's coming straight down. And so having something, again, that you can hide in the ceiling but gives that location to the front of the room. This is a great multimedia presentation type loudspeaker. I mean, if you can think of themed entertainment where you have a video wall or something of that sort, you don't need to put loudspeakers out into that space in front of the video wall. You can just hang some EdgeMax right in the ceiling, right where that video wall is, and have coverage for that area. The possibilities become limitless once we free ourselves from oh, it looks like a ceiling speaker. Think of it as both, because it's kind of getting the best of both worlds. And the thing I also like about our industry is no matter how much we as manufacturers tell our customers what our products can do and should do, they come up with amazing solutions that even we didn't think of. Integrators and consultants, system designers, they see products that are innovative and they say, wait, I've got an idea. And they think of things that we didn't even come up with. And that's part of what informed the development of our low profile version as well. When you introduce something to the market and you say, this is the need we're solving, the market says, that's great, you're totally solving that need, but this thing is so innovative, I can do other things that you're not even thinking of either. And that's an exciting kind of indirect feedback loop with new technology. And so we're still thinking about other ways we can use this phase guide and where this could go, because there may be more to come.
Well, it sounds like actually, I got to see a video of a very cool installation. Talk about thinking outside the box. I got to see a video of the installation at the Gold's Gym in Venice Beach. And I'm really excited to have you tell us a little bit more about that project. And we're going to show some of the B-roll here too. But so tell us about that, because it prompted some unique problem solving due to the strict work requirements. And so tell us a little bit about this project.
Sure. Gold's Gym is a legendary gym in Southern California. It's like it is where bodybuilding as an industry really sprang from, and many famous people, including of course Arnold, worked out there, trained there, and so they have a lot of history. And that was one of the first things that got them to be thinking about EdgeMax. Is their walls are a museum, essentially a shrine to what they have done for their industry. And but it's a gym, and it's a big gym with really high ceilings in most places. So the first thought is, well, surface mounts, because you want to get that energy, you want to get that impact, but they have no wall space. So this is what got them to thinking about EdgeMax in the first place. Is, oh, well, here's stuff we can do. We can put these not on the wall, but we can get that surface mount response. So that in itself is them saying, oh, I see the innovation you've made. I see how it solves the problem I have, because I can't touch these walls at all, but I need surface mount energy and I need high impact. But then they innovated further, because the room is one of their main gym rooms is pretty big, and it kind of calls for, the EdgeMax is covering the edges, but the middle needed a little more attention. And what they figured out was, well, they could have hung regular pendants, but then again, you get those cones. So what they did is they custom fabricated a mount to hang EdgeMaxes. so that they can still get them where the ceiling is way too high for them to get it into the ceiling. They can still get it and get that non-cone shaped projecting forward response. And that's something we never would have thought of directly on our own. So this is an installation that just kind of highlights that point, that we told them, hey, it solves a problem. You can get horizontal, coverage from a box that won't interrupt your walls, because your walls are really important to you. They're part of your brand. They're part of why you exist and why you have clientele. But then they took that to the next level of, well, we can still do better than a pendant and get that same coverage, even though we have to hang some of these from structure. And again, that's a moment where it's like, hey, I see you customers, I see you designers. It's really impressive when we see them innovate off of where we've already started. And it is a phenomenal installation. It is, like I said, it's a historical location. And in the AV industry, especially in the loudspeaker side, we're often thinking about how our products interact with their environment. And we know that in spaces that are important for their aesthetics, the loudspeaker selection becomes extraordinarily important. And being able to offer something that gives them the performance they want without interrupting their aesthetic at all it's very rewarding.
Nice. It's always really interesting and great because we are in such a creative industry, and it's very cool when teams come together and they could go to you and say, okay, how do we really make this, just put this over the top? So very cool installation and great to see that.
Yeah, I agree. This is a very creative industry. We have a lot of problem solvers, and problem solving brings creativity. And there's no end to problems when it comes to trying to get audio and
Yeah,
video in a space while allowing that space to serve its clientele. Because we do, this, most of our work is business to business. Our direct customers are the consultants and the integrators. Their customers, they're also trying to do business. They need to be profitable. They need to get guests. They need to do, they need to transact their business. So we want to facilitate that, not interrupt it. And yeah, I think the integration community, the consultant community, I think is super creative, comes up with the most astounding solutions to problems every day. And the more interesting tools we can give them to solve those problems, I think the better for everyone, for the whole industry.
absolutely. Well, Justin, this has been a great conversation. Can't wait to do more, hear more, and thanks for joining me.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I look forward to maybe talking to you again.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you.